We're recording.
Okay.
Well, this is an easy introduction. Thanks for everybody attending the local road safety plan public meeting for our one person in attendance. I'm Don Oliphant, Christopher Burke. Everybody else can introduce themselves.
I'm Liz Jensen, Chris Burke, Traffic Operations Department.
Paula Andrews, Christopher Burke, Traffic Operations Department.
So we started this local road safety plan, right, with Ashley last March of 2023. We did field observations last summer, and we submitted our report. It's making its way through the process, and today is our public meeting to get public feedback for the local road safety plan. What is a local road safety plan? This is off of FHWA's website, but basically it's to determine crash patterns, locations of concerns, and strategies to reduce injuries on a town-wide scale. And obviously, to reap the benefits of safer streets for everyone. Next. Plan development process. What we did is we grabbed data from LTAP, the local MPO, and town data. We did some data mining, sort of make sure we had a comprehensive data set. We took it and then geo-mapped it in ArcGIS against the town, street system, and we developed areas of concern based on a heat map. We then did field reconnaissance, as I mentioned, last summer, August of 2023. We drafted a plan. We submitted that to the town late last year. We talked to, obviously, the planning committee, the police and fire department, public works department, and we're here today now collecting public comments. We'll take all the comments, create a revised draft, and then the goal is for the town to adopt it as a final plan. Emphasis areas. So just a broad look at the crash data throughout the town. We had a total, for the 5-year study period of 2017 to 2021, we had a total of 675 crashes. There were 0 fatalities, which is good news. 91, about 13% of crashes had injuries. Sort of the main takeaways here: roadway departure crashes, 40% of the crashes. Dark roadway crashes, so nighttime crashes, 35%. And then 44% of the crashes occurred at intersections. And just so you know, crashes are only within, that we looked at only within town limits and only roadways under town jurisdiction, so we didn't look at US 41 or anything like that because that's under state jurisdiction.
Is it okay if I ask a question? How do we match up with these numbers? How do we match up in the state as far as towns of our population size? Is there any type of data that...
They don't really release that type of data to say this is like a high threshold. I'm sorry?
I've no deaths in 675, I think is a great number. Well, I mean, terrible that we had 675 accidents, but I don't know what the
national... But great that we have no fatalities, and as we go through these locations, like, I'm trying to think, 133rd Morse, like, we had 8 crashes in 5 years,
3-way stop sign there, right?
Technically 4 ways, but yeah.
4-way, yeah, coming out of the...
subdivision.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it became an area of concern just because, it floated to the top as far as density of crashes, but yeah, 8 crashes in general isn't something that
There's a lot of the information that you guys are pinpointing. Is it crash driven? Or is there a lot more that goes into it?
It's
like when you're talking, like I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spots highlighted. Is all those spots highlighted for crashes, or is it congestion? There's a lot of factors we're looking at.
It's crash data.
It's okay.
So we looked at crash data. Like I said, we took crash data from the 3 areas, made a data set. Mostly took LTAP because they were the most comprehensive. But yeah, it's all just crash data. Okay. So you're right. Areas with congestion, they tend to have more rear ends. right?
Yes.
Items like that.
Yeah.
So that's sort of, it's a byproduct.
Right, like an affiliation to
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
but,
And you'll see NERC actually has maps for their 3 countywide area. So NERC is the MPO for the area, and they actually, if you look on their website, they do track crash data, and that's where we got a lot of this from, but they'll have crash data for the entire 3-county area.
So a lot of that stuff I can track, not that I'm
Yeah.
good at the computer or anything.
No, if you go on NERC's website, they generally have some of that stuff available. I mean, that's part of why they're around. They do a lot of studies like this. They track a lot of this stuff. NDOT has their own crash database, you
A
know.
lot of our towns and neighborhoods and do we rely on that information altogether in a sense, like Cedar Lake, St. John's, do they all rely on the NERC information? Is it kind of?
To a point, it's a collaboration. We have NERC, LTAP's an organization out of Purdue University that does a lot of stuff in this realm as well. We'll pull from that, we'll pull from NDOT databases, we'll pull from wherever we can to get a
Right,
more
whatever.
comprehensive, view of everything. The more the merrier.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we sometimes do our own traffic counts for intersection studies and stuff like that. Not necessarily crash data, I don't think, but we pull from where we can.
Yep. Thank you.
So we have actually 8 areas of concern that sort of popped up in this heat map. These 8 areas of concern cover 30% of the total crashes, but 43% of injury crashes. Next slide. So this is not a ranking, sorry. I don't know why I apologize. This is not a ranking, we just grouped them or numbered them based on geography. So we have 8 areas of concern. The first one is Morrison 145th Avenue. As you guys were talking about, you have a traffic signalized intersection with these diagonal arms. So there's been 16 crashes, 5 injury crashes, about 56% were rear end crashes. And so, looking through the crash data and making a visit to the site, we're noting signal head visibility issues, and we currently have a recommendation to install a new traffic signal meeting current federal standards. As you mentioned, right, the signal head visibility. So the federal government wants 40 feet between the signal head and that stop bar. We currently have 16 feet on one side. I can look to see which approach that is, and then 30 feet on the other side of Morse Street. So it's substandard, I'm going to say. We also have equipment very close to the street and lacking pedestrian accommodations. There's a few items that I think we could do to make this intersection more
16 feet is the north approach,
north approach, which is 16 feet. Okay.
and 30 feet is the south approach.
Yeah. So again, like you said, they sort of stop at the stop bar, which is where you're supposed to stop, but then you have signal visors in the way. You can't actually see the actual signal head. So.
Jeff's got to move too.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Typically.
The next area concern
Once a
was
day, right?
You don't always catch the light, so you
True,
don't
true,
have
true.
to crick your neck if you get experience.
The next area of concern was Morrison 133rd Avenue. Only 8 total crashes. Again, looking at the crash data, we've got 50% rear end. Going to the site, we noticed there was a lot of tree branches in the area. I could bring up the report if you want to see the actual pictures. But there's just a lot of trees blocking stop signs.
Stop signs.
Yeah, so we're recommending like double-sided stop signs, tree trimming, and updating some advanced signage, stop ahead.
So you guys did recognize a lot of simple fixes
Yes.
throughout your studies?
Yeah.
Great,
That's
great.
Yeah, a lot of tree trimming.
Well, I've seen a couple on the south end on South Shore where there's one you can't see until you're already past it.
Exactly.
And every time I think of saying something to somebody about it, there's so many other things going on, you don't think of it.
Yeah.
And you're 100% right. I would think a lot of these small things are simple, cost-effective fixes.
Definitely. Yeah, right, that could be public works.
Yeah, right.
We also had some pedestrian upgrade recommendations. Long-term, I think we want to perform a warrant study just to see where this intersection is at. We've got multi-lane approaches there for the always stop, sort of more congested.
And this one's already been identified as a
I was going to say,
level of service
we've
path.
had other traffic impact
studies,
studies mentioned that they believe this meets warrant, so,
For traffic.
for a traffic
For
signal.
traffic signal.
So,
I have a question.
yeah.
The stamped, brick texture that's in the pavement,
Mhm.
is that, I don't know where I read it, or I thought I read it, that, you know, in kind of inclement weather, because of the grouping, there's actually a loss of traction. Does that warrant anything to you guys?
Does it become slippery?
Yeah.
Like
So
roll up
this,
in the mortar
You
joint?
should be stopping behind it. Stop bars are behind it.
I think, you're talking about ADA for pedestrians, or?
I'm talking about the
Vehicular?
green bricked dyed.
They stamped the
Right, like you're thinking the
crosswalks.
pedestrians are gonna slip or the cars are gonna?
No, I think the traffic, the vehicular
Like they
traffic.
can't stop?
Mhm.
They should be stopping behind it.
Well, they should. I don't know where I
Yeah.
read it. It's something
I can see that.
Well, we're recommending to add extra striping so maybe if people saw like, the white,
Which
crosswalk,
Right.
they would know even more so to stop ahead of it.
Okay.
What happens, I think, sometimes when the plows go over them areas, some of the snow and ice gets pushed down into the stamping and is left behind. And then the slush and the tires and everything, it builds up a little bit, and as it gets dark out in the evening time, that might freeze over.
Mhm.
And I've seen the same thing where you might be slowing down, or even trying to take off from a stoplight where the wheels will spin in that one little section. I'm familiar with exactly what he's saying.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anything,
Yeah,
I don't know how you fix that, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the addition of the crosswalk striping makes it a little more clear on top of the stop bar that stop before it.
Is it like snow then, or is it rain?
Slush.
No,
So, like,
I
maybe
think
some kind of
it's
salt
more
or
like
something.
Cold weather event.
Uh-huh.
I think it's cold. I think it's
Uh-huh.
freezing and slush.
We have no wet events marked on there, do we?
Or
Wet
snow?
or snow
No way,
events,
no, crashes.
crash types, yeah. So yeah, every intersection has a crash data chart. That kind of tells you the type of, so, yeah,
Yeah, I don't think they can see it as well, but yeah.
no, it's small.
Can we make that like a presentation? Or is it just going to do that? There.
Oh, there we go.
Right, a little bigger.
Oh,
Is that okay?
Definitely bigger.
no, I would say I don't know if they could read the chart.
Oh.
Maybe,
Well, there
I
we go.
can read the chart.
No, well, now it's bigger on the screen.
No, it's
You just
bigger.
called us old.
Okay. So, yeah, you've got that recorded
Yeah.
in the
Slippery.
notes. Yeah. So third area concern, Hilltop Street. This is a segment from Lakeshore Drive to 129th Avenue. We've got a total of 17 crashes here. A lot of blocked by like utility poles and tree branches. A lot of stop signs are not very visible there. Reading, looking through the data, there seemed to be some speeding. 35% of the crashes were run off the road crashes. 29% of the crashes were rear ends.
The very narrow roads are there.
Yeah, so we've got that vertical curve
Yep.
on Lakeshore Drive coming into the all-way stop. You can see actually in that picture, there's actually a stop sign in that picture. I don't know if you can.
Circle
I see it.
Yes, yeah.
I drove there on the way here.
I believe we're looking south in that picture?
We're looking east.
Yeah.
East.
There's congestion.
Oh, we're coming down to Lake Shore.
We're coming eastbound on Lake Shore, coming up to Hilltop.
I got it.
Hilltop's pretty much where
Right.
that car is.
You're in the vicinity of, like Pete's Palace,
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little east of that, yeah.
facing east. Yep.
Coming from the chamber.
So, there's, some visibility issues there. So we have recommendations for the vehicle speed radar signs, the feedback signs that say, your speed is.
I believe those work. I really do believe those work. They work for me.
We're out there.
They do work for me. Whenever I see it, I wind up slowing down, so.
I think people think there's a camera associated with it.
Hey,
Yeah.
you know what?
Hey, whatever it takes, yeah.
It works.
Whatever it takes, Don, safety,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, FHWA, they have a crash database clearinghouse. They tell you, like, statistically, crashes should go down by X amount. So that is an approved, like, crash countermeasure
Sure.
for crashes. So the radar, vehicle speed feedback signs, some advanced intersection warning signs, and then tree trimming. And Hilltop itself had a lot of run-off-the-road crashes. We measured that street to be, I believe, 18 feet wide.
I believe it.
9.5 feet per lane.
9.5 feet per lane,
19
so 19 feet.
Like that's a good day.
Yeah.
I mean, the problem is that it's virtually impossible to widen with how close some of those houses are to the road, so
Yeah.
that's a pavement. But
I agree, yeah, but there's really,
there's not much you could do unless you bought houses,
right.
really, or because your utilities are out on the edge and.
Yeah, those utility
There'd be
poles are
nowhere
right
to
there.
put
I mean, unfortunately, that's
Utility
pretty
poles are
common
kind of
for
like blocking some
town.
of those.
So we have a long-term, to widen, long-term goal to widen Hilltop, but, we're here for public comment, and,
Yeah.
if somebody tells us, like, there's no way that's gonna happen, well.
Yeah, feasibility-wise, that would be
Yeah,
tough.
that would be tough, I recognize that. All right, so next, hotspot is Lakeshore Drive and Klein Avenue. That is the roundabout. Now, our study period is 2017 to 2021. The roundabout was built in 2019. So some of these crashes are pre-roundabout. But we still have a lot of, some crashes post-roundabout. 40% of the crashes are still post-roundabout. 55% of the total crashes were rear end. We did some field visits. We noticed some tree branches covering some warning signs. I think we can upgrade some of the signing and pavement markings in the roundabout to just make it more clear, because the roadway alignment does curve some more. So if we put something in that splitter island, I don't know if you can use your little mouse, but like there's nothing in that splitter island right there. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they would be able to.
You find that a lot of the activity that might have taken place there is obviously because it's new, a lot of people weren't used to it. Could you attribute some of that?
Possibly.
It's definitely new to the area. There aren't many roundabouts in the immediate vicinity around here.
And I'll
Unless
be
you're from
honest with you,
Valpo.
I'm pretty good at them myself, but I get to them and I see people that are still like, they just don't know when or.
Right. When I just drove up here.
When they're turning.
So,
They're stopped
Yeah, they were stopped. I was like, there was
Yeah.
a backup and the car was literally stopped.
in the middle of the roundabout?
No,
on the approach?
yeah, there was
Just kinda scared to get in. And I think, being new,
Mm-hmm.
then you have some of the older folks, it gets a little nerve-wracking too, because it's not, like you said, that one kind of comes in on a curve, so I guess if you're not used to it, I could see it get a little nerve-wracking. I don't know that we can change that
Yeah.
now, right?
well, just adding extra signing,
Right, I
more
think-
clear signing and stuff. We had
Warnings. and-
More
Yeah.
prominent signing
Yeah.
with its placement
Now,
might be able to do something.
With those numbers, has there been a curtail yet? Has it started falling off that 40% at all?
I think it was different types of crashes.
So
Or are we
it's sort
holding
of,
strong still?
it's sort of scattered, right? So there's a crash table there. So looking 2017, we had 4 crashes. 2018, we had 6 crashes. 2019, 2 crashes, which is during construction.
During construction, and they actually
Okay.
closed it for
Oh.
a month or two.
Okay.
So.
So that's why it
full
dipped
closure
down.
For a little period.
2020, we have 6 crashes.
What kind of a mixed bag?
Yeah,
Yeah.
2021, so it's not
Yeah, and it was like right angle.
not a prominent pattern.
Right.
There was 4 right angle crashes in 2020.
Like different dark.
Yeah.
Kind of old.
And snow ice and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so some signing and pavement marking.
I know there was a pretty
Still-
good outcry when it first went in. I think people were afraid of it, but I think people are getting used to it. So.
Does the town and the engineering staff, do you guys see the roundabout becoming a part of Cedar Lake's future in any of the other intersections? Has any discussion like that? I guess you're learning from this first one, right? And
I think the problem with the roundabout is you need space.
I was about to say, the issue with
Space.
roundabouts is you need right of way.
yeah.
So
space,
you're,
yeah.
There was a lot of
A lot of
roundabouts
them don't have
for this.
right. Your busier intersections, like, 133rd and Morris, you wouldn't put a roundabout there.
No,
No,
you wouldn't have the space or, I
Right.
mean, could it work there? Sure, but you need a heck of a lot more space.
So it's not something like this is the future roundabouts, I mean.
Right, I mean, it's,
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Valpo,
Valpo,
People are more like roundabout fanatics.
Valpo's got 10 of them, I think, now.
There's people that.
South Bend has a lot of roundabouts.
Yeah.
They put a few in, is that Crown Point, going towards 65 there, they got a couple out there by the hospital.
They've got 4 in a row,
Yeah.
I would
coming off
say,
65.
generally speaking, it's always a question that comes up with each, like, intersection design you do.
It's something to consider.
Yes, I wouldn't say it's the future, though, because it
Right.
doesn't
Each
always.
intersection is.
Yeah,
is-
yeah.
I got you.
I mean, you got 2 coming in on 231 here in the next year or 2 if they push those forward.
Does-
At Klein, 231, and Paris, 231.
There's an
that-
argument for safety where like you won't have as many like you won't have right angles.
Direct
Right,
hits.
so there's less conflict points.
Does it, I wonder if that's a stat, does the roundabout create less fatal injuries?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that is a stat.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, depends, yeah.
So that'll tell the tale, like, depending on the community that you're building. I can see Valparaiso with the artists and that type of setting, I bet you they love the roundabouts.
They do love them there.
Public safety, slows traffic, right?
Right,
I think-
again, though, not every location
Yeah.
is really an ideal candidate, you know, so. But it's always a question that comes up, could
Yeah.
this be around it? All right, location 5. Klein Avenue and Vermillion Drive / 126th Avenue. This intersection has the existing dangerous intersection signage. Oh, we should have put that in the slide. But, so there's a lot of vertical curves around here, basically like old country roadway alignments, and now we have more traffic, on them. 63% of the crashes are rear ends. Doing our field visit, we saw we saw stop signs blocked, you know, by tree branches, obviously steep vertical curves. So we're recommending clearing, you know, doing tree trimming, putting in some supplementary signage, and then possibly looking at if we need more traffic control or what we call the actuated flashing beacon. I've seen other situations where they'll have detection on the side street. You know, we have a blind intersection, which is what this basically is. Like, you don't have stopping sight distance entering the intersection. So you'll have detection on the side, and then you'll have a flashing beacon, which only flashes when a car is on the side street and it says vehicle entering the roadway, or something along those lines.
So that flash will give the notice to the driver that may
Right.
not see it normally.
Right.
Is it, when you talk about a lot of tree trimming, are you referring, like in some of the spots on Vermillion and Klein? I know the intersection, well, even when you're at the stop sign, the growth is so far
You can't
to
see
Klein, there's no vision.
sight triangles.
The
Yeah.
sight line, that's the word I was looking for, I'm sorry. Are those also the things you guys are considering when you're talking about tree trimming and such like that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we can only trim within the public right-of-way,
Right.
but a lot of the growth does seem to be within public
I
right-of-way.
think that one might be our worst, that Vermillion Hill down,
Yeah.
yeah, that one place.
Well, they have a sign that says dangerous intersection, approaching it.
I mean, yeah, the long term, cutting it down, but you would have to cut down that intersection by several feet.
There's a lot of growth on the one side, it's old.
Oh,
Well,
it would
cutting
need
the
to be-
hill down.
It would need to be completely reconstructed.
Oh, yeah.
Regrade and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just the growth.
yeah, just tree trimming in the public
Yeah.
right-of-way.
Okay.
No, we've known about that one for a long time.
Would you guys refer to Hilltop and Vermillion, would you guys refer to those as like arteries? In the sense that they go straight through shortcut type roads?
Usually they're
Secondaries,
collectors.
They're minor, I think they're minor collectors
Okay.
in the NERC plan, I believe, which is also good because minor collectors and above can receive federal funding in the state. So there's more funding opportunities for that. Good. Minor collectors, being collectors. Yeah, minor collectors and above.
So location number 6 is Lakeshore Drive. It's a segment from Washington Street to Polk Street. We've got a lot of businesses in this area, a lot of pedestrians, a lot of closely spaced driveways.
Bars.
Some horizontal
Bars.
bars.
FOE's right there,
Yeah.
Unleaved,
Legion's right there.
Yeah.
Legion, yep.
Horizontal curves also add to the mix. We've got 50% of the crashes are rear end crashes, and we have 1 ped crash. So, we're currently proposing to install traffic calming measures, radar vehicle, your speed is, radar feedback signs for drivers. I put in install raised crosswalks.
How do those work?
So it's basically a speed
It's a
hump.
speed bump, yeah.
Yeah, with a crosswalk on top.
Yeah.
So, it's gradual, it's more gradual than a speed bump, but it does slow cars down.
I'm curious how the crash data is. So we installed that sidewalk there probably, how long ago, 3 years ago maybe? 2 years ago?
In front of Hunley's?
In front of, well, that one's new, the one in front of FOE.
Yeah, 4 or 5?
4 or 5 years ago?
Oh, yeah, we wrote this down.
Yeah, we got dates from you for.
Oh, yeah, I think you did ask something.
Head signing was October of 2020 and September of 2021. A third crosswalk was installed in 2023.
Now, do you think head crossings there, how they're signed now, can that contribute to rear end crashes then? If people are stopping for pedestrian? And somebody not stopping for the car, that's stopping for the pedestrians?
That type of situation, sure.
Because these crosswalks are relatively new. And they're unsignalized cross sections. or
Yeah, I think
crossing.
making it more like obvious that there's crossings, like
Yep.
other people even behind will be like more, they'll think, oh, there's crossings here.
Yeah.
You know, if they're more
Signal.
I
conspicuous.
think when we
Right,
had our
we-
meeting, I asked Billy, I said, well, can't we just lower the speed limit down to 25? Because it's 30 through there, is it not?
Do like a,
It's 30.
I think it's
Speed
30.
study.
Curves and
And
stuff.
anyway, his objection to that was, well, if we decrease it down to 25, then we can't keep the golf carts off of the
Oh,
road.
yeah.
30
That's how
miles
the
an hour.
ordinance goes. Yeah,
30
I
miles an
remember
hour.
him saying that.
Generally, just lowering the speed limit doesn't always have the desired results. People just speed.
Still go 10 over.
Right. I think, yeah,
Then they go
before,
35 instead of 40.
True,
Right.
yeah. I remember him saying that, though. I don't know if that's part of your ordinance or code, because they
like
have
that golf carts are
they have
allowed
a
if
golf
it's
cart,
25.
yeah, they have a golf cart ordinance from a couple of years ago that they instituted, and I think that's in it.
so we probably want to make sure that the existing crosswalks have stopping sight distance. There are some horizontal curves
Yeah.
right through this area.
Especially
To answer
the
your
Hunley
question
one.
about rear end,
Yeah, that contributes to it, too, yeah.
Right, we have we have horizontal curves, so we
Yep.
want to make sure the existing ones have appropriate stopping sight distance. Making an existing crosswalk into a raised crosswalk wouldn't really change.
Yeah, okay.
If there's a curve, you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's been discussion, there's an S-curve just east of this top picture near Public Works that there's been a long-term discussion to straighten it out.
Hmm.
If that area ever develops out, they would straighten that S-curve out.
Like the Chicago picture.
Yeah, exactly. Oak Street Beach, yeah. That's a great one. We'll love crashing into that safety barrier.
So sugar that one, long term, straight off the curve.
That's I don't know.
No, yeah, I don't think that's a.
It's more
realistic-
feasible down towards Public Works because it's open land down there. Here, you'd have to buy houses if you ever could do that. I don't think that'd be feasible.
Location 7 is 133rd Avenue from King Street to Parrish Avenue. Those are two signalized intersections, about 2,000 foot segments. We have 75 crashes and 22 injuries. 45% of those crashes occur at the Parrish intersection. And there's a rear end crash pattern and a nighttime crash pattern there. We're recommending installing retroreflective backplates to increase visibility. 25% of the crashes occur at Broadway, which,
The Burger King.
yeah, so Broadway and 15% of crashes are at Lincoln Plaza Way. So those both feed into that Stratton Van Til development on the south side. So we would want to look at, the traffic control. Do we need to upgrade traffic control? Do we need to possibly limit, like do access control right in, right out, if people can't, traverse through the intersection safely?
The other thing is it was resurfaced not too long ago.
Yeah.
Which
Year and a half ago.
which might actually help
Yeah.
Right.
redo some of the crashes.
So-
Because that striping was super old. It was part of the
Right.
original reconstruction in
And-
2009, 10?
We were kind of realizing,
One.
like, it might have contributed to some of the crashes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, our crash data is 2017 to 2021. We've got a date from you that in 2022, so right after our crash data ended, it was resurfaced.
Yeah.
Right, so that could have helped already.
So, yeah, some of these
It
might
did.
have already been corrected.
It's recessed thermoplastic now.
Right.
All we do now is recess
So-
in town.
That's something really
It
to
lasts.
consider.
Does it?
I mean, it's got a 2-year warranty with NDOT, whereas regular 6 months.
Yeah, TJ was asking me, like, you guys do recess? No, it's so expensive.
I mean,
We
it's
were trying to do
double,
that Rosebud, but.
but it's 4 times the warranty, and 129th was our first one we ever did, and it still looks great, and that's almost 4 years old now. It's gone through 4 winters, and it's been great. That was Director of Operations, he really pushed it.
So that's what's right here, the recess even?
Yeah,
Yep.
everything we've done for the last 3-4 years has been recessed. So obviously, we don't recess crosswalks or stop bars or anything like that, but straight line, it's
Okay.
all recessed, so.
When you mentioned the traffic count on this intersection, this is 133rd and Parish, what was the numbers on that count?
Oh,
Accidents?
the number of accidents, let me look, I've got it here.
You just said it a couple of minutes ago.
Well, I've got,
Talking about at the
so
intersection?
there's
Parish?
75 total crashes for the segment, and 45% of the crashes are at Parish.
That's,
Okay.
yeah, she was saying percentage.
So,
Would you say 133rd and Parish is like our second highest volume intersection next to 41 and 133rd? Do you guys have that?
It would be your,
we could look at an ADT map and see where, you know,
And then I'm guessing crashes play, or volume plays a lot in a number of crash routes.
yeah, each vehicle has a risk,
Yeah.
you know, associated, safety-wise getting into a crash, so more vehicles, more
More crash.
risk, yeah.
it's by far your busiest signalized intersection in town. I mean, we only have 4, 3.
Yeah.
Technically, we don't include 41.
34 crashes at 133rd and Parish.
Parish, 133rd, King
Main
Street,
Street, and then 145th and Morse.
and then the southeast corner.
So, yeah, I mean, with, Parish and 133rd, it's most likely your busiest, it's your busiest corridor for sure.
Yeah, for this first one, we just wanted to see where the crashes were happening. This local road safety plan is supposed to be a living document, you know, we review it probably every about 5 years.
Right.
You know, see what the new crash data has. I could see us, sort of in ArcGIS, sort of looking at it, you know, with ADT,
In mind.
in mind, because otherwise we're gonna keep looking at the same locations over and over again.
Over and over again.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, basically a certain road with, like she was saying, like, if it has a certain amount of, even, not even just the intersection, the road itself has a certain amount of traffic, a higher amount of traffic, you're expecting there to be a certain amount of crashes, yeah.
No doubt about it, no doubt about it. With all the work that you guys have talked about with these projects, is there funding for it? Are these wishful thinking?
We're getting to that, that's the
It's the driver behind this plan.
grand finale.
yes. So, and then our last location is Parish Avenue, 126th Place to 125th Avenue. This is a 1,400-foot segment. We've got some S-curves. This is near the northern town limits. 30 total crashes. 80% of the crashes are run-off-the-road crashes. 40% have occurred with snow or slush pavement, and 37% of the crashes occur at night. So we're currently proposing to resurface the roadway, refresh pavement markings, try to put in a little bit of a shoulder with some rumble strips along the corridor. I've got installed lighting here that I know is,
Depends on if you guys want to maintain it.
yes, yes. And then prioritize plowing, you know, in the winter during snow and ice.
I've seen, like, a lot of times if you're right at the limit, sometimes snow plowing can be.
Does it
I've
last?
seen snow ice crashes closer to limits a lot of times. Maybe people don't go all the way to the limit, I don't
Kind
know.
of forget about it too.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're like, is highway department gonna take care of this? Because it's unincorporated right after it, so.
They leave just enough room for the U-turn.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And typically, once you're entering a municipality's jurisdiction, as a rule, doesn't speed usually change or go down?
when you're going from unincorporated county into,
So people might be
town,
speeding into it, is
They're
what you're saying?
probably speeding into it and then don't realize the conditions of the roadway there.
I mean, it continues to be windy as you get out of town limits through there,
Right.
going north, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shouldn't be going that fast anyway, shouldn't.
And it seems like that roadway right through there has a very peculiar crown to the.
It's
It's not
super
super,
elevated.
it's not supered well. It's not supered well. If we
Not
repaved
super
it,
well, yeah.
if we fully repaved it, we repaved it probably 10 years ago, but it's just a simple mill and overlay and it's not lasting.
Mhm.
You'd
Do
have
you
to
need
do
a ball
something
bank?
more sufficient. A what?
Need a ball bank kit?
No.
I mean,
It's not like people are
we would
playing out
probably super it if we went back, but
Okay.
that would be a consideration probably, because it's
I-
not now.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the projects, like you say, that are future projects, is you're talking about this parish one. If there was a driving factor such as population growth in that area, then all of a sudden those needs start changing too.
Yes,
So nothing's permanent.
oh,
So
definitely.
needs, public safety needs, stuff like that is what's gonna be the driving factor for the most part
And
when
you've
you're
got-
making decisions here.
Yeah, you've got a lot of subdivisions and stuff going in, right, on the east side of town, you know, you're gonna have different crash issues
Yep,
coming up in the future, you know, as more traffic.
a lot of adjustments.
Right, yeah, different, call it pressure points.
I'd agree with that term.
So the benefits of a safety plan, number one is it makes us eligible for federal funding. So this is just a preliminary baseline look. You know, we get to, you know, once the town adopts it, we'll be eligible for Safe Streets and Roads for All, for HSIP, which is Highway Safety Improvement Plan funding. And, you know, we're looking at a 90-10 split for HSIP, where it's 90% feds, 10% local. A lot of other grants are 80-20, but there's a lot of free money out there. And so this was sort of the first step, take a look at the crashes, see where we're at, what are potential projects, and then...
You're just creating the plan.
Yes, so
With the
the
check mark.
Right, but so the next step, if we were to pursue any of these projects, would actually be to put together an application for that funding, and that there would be more analysis, you know, as part of that, you know, project costs, cost-benefit ratios, items like that.
Now, would that be for the larger scale projects, but like when you talk about trimming trees and can
Trimming
we get
trees,
some of
that's more
that
maintenance.
stuff done?
Yeah.
Is that easier to try to accomplish?
Yeah, I wouldn't put together a federal grant for tree trimming.
That's my
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
Because some of that stuff, you get the Public Works Department, in weeks' time, they can go around the town and clean up a lot of stuff, you know?
They can do signage improvements too,
Mm-hmm.
so.
The sign, yeah.
we got print
Striping,
shops.
when that comes up.
Striping, yeah, we just did a big striping project with CCMG grant money through the state, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it creates a dialogue about safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. But like your traffic signal modernization, you know, for 145th and more, you know, that, I can see that being a grant application.
Right,
You
right,
know,
right.
and
And a
then
nice signal.
you get a nice signal, you get some head accommodations, because we would have to make it like ADA, probably at compliance. It'd be a nice improvement.
I mean, that's nice, but
There's no sidewalk network.
there's no sidewalk network in really, other than the Tasty Top, other than the obvious traffic, you know, vehicular issues there. There's really nothing else to walk to there.
I know there's a convenience store, and obviously you live down there, so you would know, you'd be the expert, but there's a convenience store, bait shop.
Yeah, like a little strip mall. type.
Yeah.
Seasonal.
Pretty
Yeah.
empty.
Seasonal, right?
Because there used to be a golf course,
The
and now
golf-
that's closed down, right?
No, well,
No.
But it might
they
be.
used to
We'd
drive,
love to see it come back though.
they used to drive a lot of traffic back in the day.
There's been a long-term discussion about trying to get, so there's a project in the works now, getting sidewalk from the roundabout here.
Okay.
That's funded, being designed by another firm now, and there's discussions about continuing that sidewalk down to 145th.
I mean, at some point.
At some point, that's a long-term project.
You have to
Yeah.
start putting the network in, right,
Well,
and then connecting it.
When you talk about trying to go around the lake, you gotta get to 145th
Yeah.
to make that turn.
Yeah.
I mean, so you really couldn't cut through the neighborhoods to try to, because that's all private land on the lakefront there. you almost have to take Lakeshore around it, whether you do a walk path or a running path or what have you, bike path. You'd have to get to 145th to make that turn back in.
Yeah, we're always gonna have problems in this town about available area within very tiny right-of-ways, with a very old built environment that we're gonna have to work around in some respects.
You have to link.
And I mean,
Yeah,
the lake right there, too.
Right.
Utility corridors, the same thing.
obviously, you
Tough.
know, the funding application doesn't hinge on pedestrian accommodations, if that's something that you would be interested in pursuing.
You know, and that's what I've also found out in going to some of the nursing things, because Lake County is in that, air quality
Air quality conformance thing.
conformance thing,
CMAP, yeah.
and I think there's a higher importance or a ranking to pedestrian, projects.
Yeah, you
So-
can get CMAQ funding, yeah.
So, you know, so I have, a few of the things that I've been going through, I've been retaining.
That's been a problem too.
There's, I mean,
What
there's
was
a
my
lot of,
retention?
Well, we can't get our tip approved. Nurses can't get their tip because they're not meeting their air quality standards. They have a higher air quality standard to meet because of the northern communities and the steel mills.
Now, is that due to the steel mills and the
Yep.
oil and the refineries and stuff?
Yep, it's not this area, but we're all part of the same urbanized
Same
zone, so we're all part of the same tip, unfortunately. And they can't get it approved because they're not meeting that. They're working on it. It's not their fault, so, but it's just a complicated issue for the region.
So, yeah, and obviously, there's a lot of safety benefits to having a local road safety plan, but
What if we installed big windmills? And put all of the air quality bad guys over into Illinois?
all the particulate
Get
matter.
we can get our own,
Yeah.
Right back out, right.
and sell energy to the grid.
I have a question about number 7.
Sure.
Yeah, Cliff?
That data, does that take into account the businesses, or is that strictly on roadway?
That is on 133rd Avenue. So nothing,
In the parking lot.
nothing in the parking lot, but just entering and exiting the driveways onto 133rd.
Okay, thank you.
And then also the intersections, like you said, with Parish, King Drive, Broadway, and,
Lincoln Plaza.
Lincoln Plaza Way.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even put signals at those intersections, right?
No.
They're too close to the other guys.
I don't think they need
Yeah.
signals. necessarily.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of future improvements, what you could actually do. I mean,
A
it's a
lot of it-
3-lane section now.
I think a lot of it too is that it needed resurfacing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how we track now.
Yeah, and
We
then
get
the
more
fact
data.
that there's just a lot of traffic. too.
And there wasn't, you guys went out there when it wasn't done, there wasn't a whole lot of striping left. Like, it was bad. It was admittedly very bad. So it's night and day out there now.
I mean, as far as the traffic, like those intersections, right in, like doing right in, right out, or, I wouldn't do I don't know if a signal
No.
would really make sense. We just put that signal in,
100 at King,
yeah,
2 years ago, 3 years ago. Hard to believe it's been that long.
I don't think we were thinking necessarily another signal.
I was gonna say, you're not gonna make
I
many
paid for
friends
20% of
with
it, so.
Guaranteed. Nobody likes that.
The only time it ever works is if somebody's coming up King Drive there at the, between
Well, the
banks.
intent was to have the high school be able to control it when they were letting in and out.
For the
I don't
buses.
know if they've ever really, they have a key to that cabinet, as far as I know. So the intent was to have them be able to control during,
There's a-
football
there-
games
okay.
and,
Well, there's an internal clock out here that knows weekdays, between 2:45 and 3:05,
don't go there.
you don't even go there.
It's
It's
busy
congested.
with all the kids coming out of school.
And yeah, I don't know if they're distracted too.
Oh, yeah, we had a crash there.
Well,
Two weeks after it
that
opened.
was a little bit of a concern, I was like not sure if that was happening too.
It's
Like,
kinda like an
between
offset
2 and 4,
intersection.
I think it seemed like maybe, I can't remember the exact pattern, but I thought we were looking at,
We-
there might have been some more crashes
We
during
looked
that
at
time.
the total crashes town-wide during time of day.
Yeah.
And it started at 3:30, it was like 3:30 to 5:30.
Oh, yeah, you have that chart,
Just
yeah.
that release.
Time.
You know,
By far the
I
worst
shouldn't
traffic.
say that. I have been there where they've had their, public safety guy. Controlling, and then he'll force the pedestrian traffic to cross to the south side of 133rd, go to the sidewalks. I don't know why unless,
That was the
So
only,
they use it for pedestrians?
I'm
They
sorry.
use the signal to direct cross pedestrians?
Yeah, right at school, release at school.
that was probably the benefit to that, was the crossing there, so they didn't have to go all the way down the parish, 133rd, that was like,
I think it needed to be a pedestrian.
it's the hawk signal.
I don't know, between the buses, the kids,
Yeah.
teachers, that's a lot of cars, a lot of students.
Oh,
Always gonna be tough.
It's growing too, still keeps growing.
I know we originally talked about relocating
The
the
entrance.
drive for the high school
I
to
didn't-
align with King and.
They didn't want that, that was actually part of the actual tip funded portion of it, it got pulled.
They turn it down.
Yeah, it was admittedly a weird it was like a curve coming in, and so we had it. It was weird.
Yeah, it was a jug handle,
Yeah.
because there was no good way.
Because it's like an offset. They were talking about doing an offset light, and we're like, nah, those aren't great.
Time of day.
So, yeah, not perfect, but, yeah. So, oh, any other question? Anybody from the audience?
Anybody online?
Nope. 0 attendees, just ask Cliff. Cliff, you got any questions?
No, I'm good, thank you.
No problem. All right, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks.